Olivia, we'd like
Mr.
to,
G.
we'd like to welcome our audience
Mhm.
once again to the next edition of Mainstream Main Gist. We have had a series of resource people that have come
Mhm.
into the studio. We've had Zion,
Yes,
Lilo,
with the
program
Mainstream
manager.
Foundation.
Yes, we
Mhm.
had engineer Sunday Oladile,
Yeah.
who was coming from the brand new power plant, the
Zungero.
700 megawatt Zungero hydropower plant. And then we've also had Adiola,
Mhm.
Mr. Adiola, the head of internal audit, an
Mhm.
amazing person.
Yeah.
I mean, you've kept true to your words. All the people we bring here are people who are professionals in their field and have a relationship with the power sector
Mhm.
in a very, very interesting manner. And it's been quite interesting to hear them talk. Today we have someone special, but first of all, I need to find out from Olivia, how have you been? How's the power
I've
sector
been good. The power sector has been great to me this past week, I would say. Right? Yeah. So it's been good.
You've had supply, it was Children's
I'm
Day.
on band A, so I have I do have supply where I live.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Very good.
It's
Very
good enough supply. It will get better. It can only get
Thank
better.
you.
Very
Yes.
good. So there's something actually. We often don't talk about the operations behind the power sector, how light gets to your house, how people have to be safe, how people have to make sure that from the moment we generate all the way to distribution right
Mhm.
into your television, there are some people who make sure that the human end of that operation is kept very, very safe.
Yeah.
That's why we have the person we have in the studio today.
Exactly. There are people who basically put their lives on the line for us to get power through the lines. You get what I mean?
Absolutely.
That rhymed. But yeah, it's really deep. It's serious business. It's not child's play. And like you said, we're happy to have our guest in the studio today.
Yes.
Who should introduce her, or should we allow her to
She
introduce
should do
herself?
no, she's a big person. We need to allow her to do the talking
Okay,
herself.
all right.
So we have in the studio today, please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Oli and Ulugbenga. I'm pleased to be here. My name is Dr. Prisca Iwunze. I'm the head QHSE Mainstream Energy Solutions Limited. I'm talking about the power sector. Before I joined Mainstream, I was the head HSE in Egbin Power Plant.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've been in the power sector for quite a while now.
For quite a long time. In fact, before I left for school, I started with disco. But that was just a very short while.
Oh, that's the distribution end.
Distribution end.
So at what point was that?
Inorere.
Before Egbin or before Egbin?
Before Egbin.
Okay.
But that was at early stage of my career.
Okay.
You understand? I just bumped into Owerri district and I saw a lot of crowd. I was asking, what are these people doing? I was a jam by then.
Okay.
What are these people doing? They told me they're writing exams for new intake. So I just looked for the person in charge. I said, please, can I write this exam? Please, where are you coming from? I said, I just came to pay my NEPA bill. So can I just write exam with them? And the man said, yes, you're free. I wrote the exam. The next thing I saw a letter to me.
Interesting. Some will say that's fate.
And that was while I was waiting for the JAMB result. So within that few months, I was with them. And when the result came out, boom, I left.
Oh, wow.
From paying your bill. I'm going to pay your bill to get the job.
Fate has sort of intertwined her with power sector for a while. Interesting.
So that's it. So that's how, just a very short period in distribution. Then before I now left for school, then after my studies, I still found myself back to Egbin.
Okay.
To work there. Started with the environment before I now fully migrated to HSE.
Okay.
So that's how my career there started. Before I left Egbin to join Mainstream.
Interesting.
Aside from that, because of the extent so far, well, I won't say is a coincidence. While I was in Egbin, I was known in NEC before I joined Mainstream. And so that was how I became the secretary, the NEC safety code. I became the secretary for that panel review. So we did that job for quite about, it started before the COVID methods, and we were able to successfully review that health and safety code.
Okay. So, but before we go too far, I feel as if, so is it OHSE or QHSE?
Well, some organizations have theirs at health, safety, and environment. And some put theirs together for quality to be under HSE. So you now have quality health, safety, and environment. I was told when I left Egwin, they now merged the two departments.
Okay.
So right now they have what we have here
Okay.
as quality health, safety, and environment department.
Okay. Okay. So how has that journey been? You've been in distribution, thankfully, so you have experience there. Yes, for a few months, but you also see what goes on, and you've been in the power sector. You're been the generation angle of it as well. How would you say? What would you say is the impact of safety? How important is safety to this? What's it called? The
value chain, yes, of power.
Of power.
From generation to transmission, even to distribution. What is the importance of safety?
Power sector as it is cannot do without safety because it's one sector that is very high risk. The risk level in the power sector is very high, starting with the human beings. So is one sector that needs safety most because of the individuals that work there. The electricity on its own, very interesting. Electricity, we all enjoy it, but it's very, very risky. Any small mistake you make there, either it will lead to electric shock or electrocution. So it's a high risk area that people need to take safety as a core value, not just priority. Because the slightest mistake you do there will cost you your life. May not end only up in costing you your life, but the lives of others. Because this is where you work as a group. For instance, a crew member, you decide to go to work at a power line. You don't take your permit to work as you're supposed to make sure that the line is de-energized, to ensure that your safety is guaranteed, and even those team members with you. When you don't do that, it may not only cost your life, but the lives of others with you. So it's and that is why it's highly regulated by NEC. It's highly regulated because it's something, not just even the workers. What about people out there? What about the customers? You see the conductor lines passing through people's shops. Even though when they are told not to build, they should have that lines, right of way. But people don't comply to those things. You see shops being built under the network.
High tension.
Even before 15, you see houses, shops, people selling along that line. It's a very big risk.
So now that you've, like Olivia said at the beginning, that we may not follow, exactly the steps. You've mentioned something very important, right of way. 415, 330. Give us a scenario. What could go wrong in a scenario? You've built a shop under a 330 or 415 or 132. What could go wrong?
If mistakenly that wire snaps, whether on the person down there selling, whether on a shop you have zinc, these are conductors, definitely all the people down there will be affected. Depending on the area, the span where the wire snap happens. You may have 3-4 people along the chain there sitting down, selling their goods. We have instances where some schools, they had wire snaps, even on their gates, falling on the gate. The pupils coming out, touching the gates, they get electrocuted. We have people in the marketplaces. We have in the houses. So once there is this wire snap, everybody along there gets hurt by that, get affected. Some, if they are lucky, by the time they are being rushed to the hospital, they may survive. And some, if they are not. Let me tell you one shocking story. When I was still in Lagos, there was this guy, just the only son of the parents. This incident I'm talking about happened in Ikorodu. Young graduates. And they went to, I won't mention the company. They went to work. They didn't take proper work permits. There was no work permit for that. And that was how that guy met his death. At first, he didn't die there instantly, but in course of the treatment, he had his 2 eyes, 2 hands cut off. He was begging for that. That there is no way he will survive with the 2 hands cut off. And eventually, that guy died.
So he was walking on the line, like he was part of the people walking on the...
There was no proper isolation. no proper, this permit to work we
Yes.
talk about.
Absolutely.
So
You make sure the line is being de-energized.
You have an outage on the
You
line.
have an
and it's
outage.
interesting because when we think of safety at work, we're always thinking of PPE.
Yes,
Personal
protective
equipment. So I'm thinking wear my boots, put on my hat,
my gloves,
my gloves,
everything,
but
and I'm safe.
actually,
But something has to be done. See, in there's what we call hierarchy of control. In hierarchy of control, what should comes first is elimination. After elimination, you talk about the substitution. After substitution, you talk about the engineering factors. After that, you come and talk about the administrative before PPE.
So
PPE is even the list.
Wow.
There are things that should come up first before you talk about the. Yes, it's compulsory, it's necessary, important. But then what about the procedures? That should come up first. What about the engineering factors? Have you de-energized? If you need to ground it, have you done that? These are things you need to do before you start talking about the PPE, which is the list.
Wow.
So you should follow the hierarchy of control when you're talking about your control measures
Hierarchy of
to
control.
minimize
So from
that
what
risk.
what Madam Pia has even said, the person is trying to eliminate any eventuality. So
Exactly.
just eliminate
What are
it
those
first of all.
hazards that one could be exposed to? Try to eliminate them. Ask yourself, is this work necessary? Is it a must do? If it's a must do, so how do I eliminate the hazard? If it's not something I can eliminate, how do I substitute it with a softer one that will give you soft landing, whereby the risk is reduced to its minimal? And if you've done that, then you talk about the engineering control. The engineering control is kind of building a barrier between you and the work itself.
Okay.
You see some people, they want to go and they will do short circuiting. They will just try to, all these fuses we see, breakers, they are protective measures. And when you now go and, I give you another example, in the discos now, you see them, the fuses.
And the transformers, right?
Yes. Well, rather than the fuse cutting, you see some fuse, when you see them very reddish. Some of them, instead of using the right fuse, they will go and use, I learned some use nail.
Oh, absolutely. So that it won't cut on time.
It won't cut on time.
I've seen that.
Like a nail.
Yes. So the fuse is a protective mechanism.
Yeah.
So once it cuts, it means there's something wrong with your line. So
Exactly.
it has protected the transformer from getting destroyed. So what she's saying is that because it's easy to cut, because it's a protective mechanism, some now go and use nails. Nails can't cut.
Yeah.
So
Can't cut.
they will just get red, and
So
they
if
will
your
not be able
person-
to activate that control.
Wow.
You just see it's red.
Red. Walking by transformer, you see, looking red. It happened to an institution. It happened to an institution that we were dealing with. And when it kept on tripping, we gave them a 1 MVA transformer because it's a big establishment. 1 MVA. Always cutting. So they now went and then they used a very, very thick copper wire, rolled it, and used it to make the fuse. Of course, it destroyed the 1 MVA transformer.
Oh my
big
goodness.
1 MVA transformer, it destroyed it completely. So I see what she's saying. But my question, I also want to, a follow-up question to that is that you have worked with generation, distribution, transmission, and you know about the value chain. What are the hazards other than electric shock? What other hazards
In
are
safety, there is what we call mobile hazards. We also talk about saying human beings, we are the mobile hazards.
Ooh.
Yes.
So Olivia, like this is hazard.
No, not me. It's not me.
No, we have mobile hazards. The electricity itself is a hazard. The culture, that is where culture comes in now. The people themselves. A hazard remains a hazard except you have an activity around it. And that is where you now expose yourself. That is when we talk about the risk of exposure. So these conductors, they are hazards, which is what we talk about, the electricity. It's hazard. So you need to make sure that you don't expose yourself unduly. Yes, we agree we have a very poor network. Some of them are substandard equipment. So some of these substandard equipments, we need to check them from time to time and make sure we have the right equipment. Then the human beings that are working, training is key. This is where training comes.
I see.
You can't just go and pick somebody that has no knowledge of that job and you put that person on that job to do it. So there is no way the person will do it compared to the way one that is a professional that knows the procedure to follow. There is no way that person will do it same. So these are some of the challenges.
What I'm hearing her say is that safety is a culture that should be adopted. So how do we enforce? How do we now raise this sensitization or sensitivity or the culture of safety? Because I see a lot of time road safety asks you to use your seatbelt that is supposed to save your life.
But we
And
still,
we still
we're
struggle
offended. We don't want to put on the
So what do we
seatbelt.
do for the power sector? Because a lot of these things are shielded from our eyes. We don't see them, but the data is there. How do we enforce this culture of safety?
Yeah, I'm happy the way you put it. Safety is a culture. Now you have an organization that is working towards a particular goal, ensuring no lost time injury, no fatality. So you're now dealing with different cultures of the different people because they're coming from different backgrounds to work to achieve a certain goal. Human beings being what they are, that change, resistance to change is always there. In safety, we always talk about attitude. Without having the right attitude is a big problem. Don't forget, attitude determines your altitude. This is what we keep telling people. Your attitude determines your altitude. So if you don't have that right safety culture, that attitude of positivity is a problem. And this starts with the top. Safety is top-driven.
Okay.
It's not down-driven. Do what I do. So most of the organizations you're having some of this problem, check the top. When the top man there who puts his signature on the policy does not keep to the commitment he has on those policies, how do you think the others will follow?
Yeah.
So it's a top-driven affair. Let me narrow it down to mainstream. We are where we are today because we have safety-conscious top management. And I give them kudos for that.
True.
That is why you see what you see in mainstream. For those organizations that their target is about, yes, revenue is the target, but that's not the ultimate. The highest asset you have is the people.
Yeah.
So what does it benefit you to meet that revenue when the people are dying on daily basis?
The people have to
Do
be
you
safe.
consider the image, the reputation of that organization? That today we get a history, one person died, tomorrow another person died. You're gradually losing your assets.
Absolutely.
Your highest asset, which is the people.
The human resource.
So safety is a top-driven. If the man on the top there is not safety conscious, forget it. There is nothing you will do about the people. So that is why from the top management, you cascade it down and make sure that culture is being embraced by everybody in the company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So time is always an issue when you bring these people that are eggheads.
I was really enjoying this conversation.
I don't want this stuff. I know time is the essence. But I think I need her to just tell us about one more thing. These certifications, what are they?
Fantastic. That's the management system, quality management system, which is ISO 9001. Then the environmental management system, which is 14001. And then operational health and safety management system, which is 45,001. These three
I know them, but I always mix up the numbers.
Okay,
but I know that one has to do with like environment, one has to do with the staff, and then
the
one has
organizational,
yes,
the OMS. So please go on.
Okay, so when you talk about the operational health and safety management system, which is 45,001, your mind should go to the people. It's about the people. It's about the processes, practices, and documented information that will enable that organization reduce hazards and risk to the lowest minimum to make sure that operation is being carried out effectively and efficiently without people being hurt. The target there should always be reducing harm. Like you mentioned, we have zero harm
Yeah,
To
our
man and
to man
mantra.
and nature.
To man and nature.
Zero harm.
Exactly.
So 45,001 talks about the people. What are those procedures? What are those practices I need to put in place to make sure the way you come to office, you go that same way without being hurt?
Mm.
That is just what operational health and safety management system is talking about. And what are these things that could cause people to get hurt? Those are the hazards. What are the hazards? Anything that has the potential to cause harm is everywhere. Even right here we are. If we look around, we all see the hazards.
Please, let's not look.
No, we're not going to.
Let's not look around.
Go on.
So many things could cause just cables on the floor. It can cause somebody to trip
Absolutely.
when you don't keep it very well. If I open my drawer and I don't close it, that drawer I opened can cause a fall for me.
Absolutely.
So these hazards are everywhere. And it's not something you say you can eliminate it 100%. No. Even in course of carrying out your activity, you're creating hazards. There could be, if I have a panel, probably that panel is closed, and I want to work on that panel, and I opened it, I've exposed myself to a hazard. So these hazards are there. You can't do without them. And you're being exposed is that risk we are talking about. So all those practices you put in place to make sure that these hazards are being reduced so that people will not be unduly exposed to risk for operational efficiency and effectiveness is just what operational health and safety is talking about. Like you mentioned, we have so many programs. We have our walk the talk. What do? It's just to move around, identify those hazards that could cause problems for people. The IRC, the incident reporting, when you see an unsafe act, unsafe condition, you report it so that we'll go and rectify all those things so that people will not get hurt. Now back to environment, which is 14,001, environmental management system. Like I said, when you talk about environment, your mind should go to the environment. What are those practices, those procedures, documented information I need to put in place to make sure that the impact to the environment is reduced for operational efficiency? Environment is not just about we human beings. You have other things that are there. You have the air, you have the water, you have the land. How does my activity affect the environment? How does my output affect the air? How does it affect the land? How does it affect the water?
But is it possible to totally not affect the environment? Is it possible to totally not?
That's why I said it's not 100%, but then reducing it minimally is what is your conscious effort, your intentional effort to make sure that these things are reduced is what matters. For instance, our water is what we use, which is the fuel. To what extent do we conserve this water? And that's why we always tell people, when you see any leakage, make sure you report so that leakage will be closed. What hazard and risk is to operational health and safety is what aspect and impact is to environmental management system. That is, in environmental management system, you talk about aspect and impact.
I see. And in
operational health and safety, you talk about
risk.
hazard and risk.
I see. Last part. Okay.
So I was talking about environmental management system. So what are those aspects? You talk about greenhouse gas emission. You talk about flooding. You talk about chemicals. These things are aspects. What are the impacts? You talk about waste. And that's why in mainstream, we have color coding. Where you should put every waste being generated. We have the hazardous waste that we put in the red bin. We have the recyclable waste that we put in the yellow bin. And then we have the domestic waste that we put in the green bins. And there's a purpose for that. If you dispose of toxic waste, for instance, to the water, you are impacting negatively to the water. You don't know where that waste will lead to. The impact is going to have on the aquatic lives.
Absolutely.
If you mistakenly discharge oil to the water, you are affecting the aquatic lives.
Yeah.
Because it's going to seal off the oxygen they cannot breathe. And that is going to affect them. So this is just all what environmental management system is all about. Conserving the natural resources. We need to conserve these natural resources. If we continue, that's another reason why we discourage people from printing papers. Why? Somebody will ask, why are we even after this 10% reduction we are doing? The more papers you use, the more trees are cut out there. Because these papers are from wood. So in order to give back to the environment what we are taking, that's why we encourage tree planting. You now see why we have the objective. Exactly. So that's why we have that objective of planting 300 trees this year. So as to give back to the environment what we are taking, because we are making use of papers.
True.
As much as we're also discouraging deforestation. So that is that about environmental management system. Then when you talk about quality management system, which is ISO 9001, your mind should go to customer satisfaction.
I see.
We have customers. And we need to make our customers happy for us to be in the business. Optimal performance. We need to make sure that we deliver on time for these customers to be happy.
I see.
And mainstream as a company, how do we do that? We have an objective of generating 6.5 million megawatts. When we generate more, our customers out there are happy.
Absolutely.
We also have another objective of unit availability, ensuring that we have our units available 92.09. When your units are more available, it enables you to generate more. And when you generate more, customers out there are happy. And nobody will say, NEPA, they've come again. You have taken their light. Because they're happy, they're seeing the light. So you can see that these three management system, QHSE, or Quality Health Safety and Environment Management System, is very, very important. For any organization that wants to strive, you need to take up this management system. It's going to improve the people working there, your processes. It's going to improve your conservation to the environment, making sure that you don't pollute the environment, preventing pollution, protecting the environment, and then in all of this, ensuring that your customers are satisfied. At the end of the day, they are happy. You're happy doing the business. They are happy because that's
you are in business. You're there. You know, I must make a confession on air now that I have never understood the intertwinedness, if you like,
Of the
three.
Okay.
Of the
The
three
three
certifications.
certifications.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's because she's in her teacher mode.
Mm.
You know, so that's why it has come like this. Only we're running out of time.
Yeah, so there was a lot I would have said, but there's no time actually.
Absolutely.
However, I'm happy to have had this podcast with you today because you also reiterated the importance of safety for me. The thing about safety in the workplace is that sometimes it feels like a routine, like it gets so tiring and people get bogged down by it. However, we never know when the risk will crystallize. So no matter how tired we get, it's something we have to just keep at. Eliminate that entire... No, if we can't eliminate it, reduce it. Yes. So even for our homes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even for our homes.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about work. It's about our entire life.
It's everywhere. Safety at home, safety at work. If you're not safe at home, you can't come to work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's up to our kitchen. This safety in our homes is up to our kitchen. The way we keep our utensils is up to them. I give an example. Somebody showed something. You want to use your fry pan we use at home. You're frying maybe plantain or whatever. That fry pan you put there, where is the handle facing? Have you ever thought of that?
True. I know that my dad is...
Where is the hand?
on that
Fry
growing up.
plantain, so I'm going to be very conscious.
So
of that.
where is the hand facing?
Oh,
You need to be conscious of that.
outside the
Or
cooker
inwards,
area
yes.
or inwards.
Outside, knowing that when you're passing mistakenly,
You can just...
and the whole oil.
I hope our listeners are paying attention. Where do you put where does the handle of your frying pan? You have to be safety conscious up to the point of where does your frying pan handle? All those cooking series and everything has to take cognizance of the safety aspects of that cooking. We should go to Maggie.
Maggie.
We should go to a cooking competition one of these days and tell them about that thing. It's very, very important. And you know, it's just like saying those who say education is expensive. If education is expensive, then try the price of ignorance. If
Exactly.
you think the price of trying to be safe, is expensive, then
Then
try
accident.
try accidents and see which costs more. I honestly cannot thank you enough, Dr. Prisca, for coming here. And like as I always said, the time is short for us to insufficient for us to discuss these things. But you're somebody whose message has to go on and on and on, because I don't want to pay the price of an accident. I want to be safe.
Yeah.
And hopefully,
Likewise me.
exactly. We hope that our audience have heard this, and that they will take a lot of cognizance into the safe acts that they carry out at home and even at work. Olivia, any last words for our audience as we round up?
Let's all just stay safe. Let's just do everything within our power to stay
Exactly.
safe. Let's
So-
not leave it all to God. God is important. God is everything. But there's a lot we are responsible for and we should be accountable for.
So join us again. Send your questions to us. If there are questions, ask questions. We'll respond to them on the next episode. We'll send it to our resource persons. I will give you the answers online. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll meet again on another edition of Mainstream Main Gist. Thank you.